again, my YouTube lovelies, and welcome to another episode in the van build series. This is episode 5, Google and a sketch. In episode 3, I think I spoke about how there was a layout that I had in mind. This layout that just wouldn't leave me, was always niggling away in the background. And that layout basically kind of dictated the size of vehicle that I needed, etc. So this episode I want to sort of focus on the sketches that I did. Excuse the quality of these sketches, they're filmed using a shaky camera mode, and they're just me filming the sketches that I have in my book, Rob's Van Book. But, you know, at any point, if you need to pause so that you can see the detail of my sketches. I put Google in there because originally I did use Google SketchUp at one point. Greg Virgo does an amazing video where he shows you how to do the layout of his van in Google SketchUp, and then I think he carries on with showing you how to do all the drawings, etc., of cupboards and all of the cabinetry, etc. I did try it actually using Greg's tutorials, and they were brilliant. And I did one of the van itself. I took all the dimensions of the van and translated those into Google SketchUp, and it was really useful. It took me a while, to be fair, and to be honest with you, at the time that I was doing it, I'd booked time off, about 2 weeks holiday or so after moving from my house into the van, and really I just needed to get cracking. So rather than spending hours and days trying to do all of these sketches in Google, I just got on with it. Sometimes in my job, for the most part, I mean, I go on and on at students saying, you know, you got to have drawings, and yeah, for my own personal designs that I do, I tend to always have some kind of CAD drawing, something that's drawn in Vectorworks or something like that. But then when it's something of my own, i.e. a van, my house, yeah, I do some sketches. I've got the sketches here in my book, but I never went down the CAD route with them. I just got on with it. Sometimes I find when I'm working, certainly in timber, which is, I guess, the only sort of means and of material that I tend to be sort of fairly comfortable using, I just get out there and just do it. I make something and then I adapt it and design it as I go along. I've kind of got a rough idea. I suppose up here is the drawing board for the most part, which obviously is not useful if you were trying to give these drawings onto someone else. But anyway, hopefully through this episode you'll be able to freeze frame if you need to. I'll hopefully just sort of clip to various bits of the build way in advance so that you can actually see all the various bits from sofa to bed, kitchen, etc. But I think the idea again of Google was not so much as what Google SketchUp could do, but what Google in general could do for you. Again, I go on as to, with students, how on earth can you not function these days without Google? And yet I sort of try and think back to times when, you know, I remember a time when I didn't even know how to use a computer. So what did I use for research? Well, I spoke to the master carpenters that I worked with. I watched, I learnt on the job. If there was something in particular that I needed, I'd go to the library and I'd take a book out. Nowadays it's just so easy. Everything is there on Google for us, you know. I'm sure if you didn't know how to tie your laces and you put that in, there'd be, you know, God knows how many YouTube videos on it. It's frightening, really, now, the sort of the knowledge and the wealth of expertise that's out there that is now just at our fingertips, which is amazing. So I look at it, and it's great in that point of view. But then there's other times when I just think, has it taken away the experience of us being able to try things for ourselves and, I don't know, make those mistakes ourselves? Maybe, I don't know, we're of a culture now where we rather watch other people make the mistakes and then therefore don't need to make them ourselves anymore. I don't know, I kind of like making mistakes, to be honest with you, because they are the things, I think, to some extent, that kind of mould us and shape us and make us the people that we are. And without those mistakes, I don't know, it kind of takes away to some extent the finished product of what you're doing, to some extent. The mistakes are what makes and hones something to the finished product, I think. But sketches for me were integral to my build. I would sit down and do a sketch whenever possible. If an idea came into my head, I would just scribble it down, and I can then sort of take those sketches and adapt them to suit, do the necessary tweaks that I need to do, and then once I'd got into the workshop and started building for sure, it enabled me to, I would then probably do more sketches again, but those sketches would then have correct measurements in, and etc. So then that actually helped the build process when I was actually doing it at the time. So the sketches are really, really useful. And Google is a tool which, is quite phenomenal, and I really don't know how we would exist without it. My build really has come on the back of watching some amazing tutorials and van builds that are out there on YouTube, and without those, undoubtedly, I don't think, I'm not saying I couldn't have done what I did, because I certainly could have, but it would have been a lot harder and a lot more time consuming. As I said earlier, I think the fact that someone has already gone out and made the mistakes and then corrected them just makes our lives a lot easier. So I'm going to kind of end this here. This is quite a short video. This whole series will probably have very, very short videos with regards to the content of what it was that I filmed and just the actual subject matter. I don't really need to go on and on and on. Give me a chance in front of a camera, in front of anybody, to tell the truth. I could talk for Great Britain, but we'll stop it short there. The next episode, let me just try and find my list of episodes, but the next one, episode 6, is Strip Me Down. Ooh. And that one is where we basically look at me taking the panelling out of the van and starting to get prepped with regards to stripping it down to its bare metal shell. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. If you do, please give us a thumbs up, please comment and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Cheers.